mentalist Oz Perlman.
Oz Perlman.
Oz Perlman.
Oz Perlman! Oz Perlman, ladies and gentlemen.
Know what motivates others and think about them more than yourself. That right there is one of the greatest secrets to my entire success, and I would say the secret to some of the most successful people I've ever met in my life. When you focus on others more than yourself, that's the number one rule of sales. Know what they want, deliver for them, not deliver for yourself. Most people, when they see a magic trick, they just enjoy it. Then you take a subset of that, people that want to know how it's done. I want to learn how to do that. I want to give that feeling to other people.
There's an unwritten rule with magicians. It's don't share tricks. Don't tell people how to do tricks. How valid is that social contract? Welcome to In Search of Excellence, where my guest today is the most famous, sought-after mentalist in the entire world, Oz Perlman. I've been wanting to have him on my show for a long time, since watching him on AGT back in 2015. What he does is amazing. Super excited to have him. Oz, thanks for being on my show.
Randy, love it, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right, let's start with family. You were born in Israel.
Yep.
And your name in Hebrew means strength and bravery.
That's right, yeah.
So
I don't know if I got the strength exactly, but yeah, it worked out well. Brave and strong.
Have strength and bravery been a theme in your life? And tell us about the influence of your dad, Jim, that he had on you growing up.
So yeah, that's an interesting question. So my name originates, it's interesting, I had a twin, and my twin died at birth. So it's my sisters were twins, I was a twin, which is just a weird coincidence. And so my parents were gonna have different names for us because I was the one that survived. They made like a last minute audible and they changed my name to what means brave and strong. So I was the one who survived. So, you know, I've always found my name to be both a blessing and a curse, because in English, it's very hard to say. It looks like Oz, Wizard of Oz. Everything about it should be Oz. I'm fully aware of this. But in Hebrew, it's Oz. So they continued that pronunciation. And at that point, I was kind of branded with this name. So I don't like explaining to people, but I always say it sounds like somebody owes you money, or it rhymes with Cheerios, and people remember it that way. And now it's become kind of a nice hook.
I hope you're enjoying this video so far, but before we jump back in, I want to know if you've ever thought about what you need to do to reach the next level of success in your life. Over the last 25 years, I've been an advisor to more than 50 companies. I've invested nearly 100, including Google, Lyft, and Seagate, and I also co-founded a company that today is worth more than $15 billion. I've been incredibly blessed in my journey, and at this stage in my life, I want to give back. I want to share the lessons I've learned so you can reach incredible success way faster than I did. In my own journey, I've learned that having the right mentor is a massive advantage to achieving our goals. I'm hugely passionate about mentoring others, and I'm looking for a few hungry entrepreneurs who are excited to take action on their journey to incredible future success. So if that's you, I've got an opportunity. In the description of this video, there's a link where you can apply to work with me. All you need to do is answer a few simple questions, and if you're a good fit, my team will reach out so we can build a game plan together. All right, now let's get back to the video.
And strength and bravery, has that been a theme in your life?
I don't know if strength or bravery have been a theme. I think the name works, but I don't know. I don't particularly have strength. I hope I'm brave. I think I've been very focused and relentless. If there's a word that means relentless, I think that would be me.
You moved to the United States when you were 3 years old to York, Pennsylvania,
Yep.
which is the snack food capital of the world.
That's true.
And then you moved to Farmington Hills, Michigan when you were 8
I lived
years
in Wisconsin in between.
Okay.
Snuck that in on you.
Where in Wisconsin?
I lived in a city called Neenah, Wisconsin, which is very unique because if you walk around and you look at manhole covers, they're all made at Neenah Foundry from Neenah, Wisconsin. Everywhere in the world, you'll notice it now that I said it. And it's spelled N-E-E-N-A-H. And it's this pocket of companies. There's Kimberly-Clark, there's Bergstrom, there's all these companies that make paper products. It's like the paper capital of the country. Don't quote me on that, but it's Fox Company, there's a Fox Company, there's all these different like big companies you wouldn't realize are in this small little town in Wisconsin.
And then you moved to Farmington Hills, Michigan.
Yep.
I grew up in Birmingham, Michigan.
There we go.
So know the neighborhood very well. Why did you move so many times when you were younger? Was your dad getting transferred job to job?
New job. So my dad was in the military. He was in the Navy in Israel. And then there was these exchange programs where they would, for defense contractors, they would bring you over. My dad would create these mobile bridges that they use in in wars and assaults, where you create a bridge instantly, like this. I can't explain it. And then he would design diesel engines. And so he just did all these different engineering projects, which were more consultant based. They were several years, and then it was kind of on to the next thing. So that moved us around. It was a little, I don't want to call it an army brat because he wasn't in the military. He was now civilian, but that's kind of what moved us around.
You've never talked about your mom before. We don't even know her name.
Oh, no?
In a podcast interview.
I can't believe it.
So tell us about your mom. What was her name and what did she do?
My mom's Devorah, and she was a teacher, and she's a very funny woman. She's got a lot of personality. She raised 3 kids and taught English at the same time. She used to teach English, taught Hebrew. So she taught Hebrew to people who typically were she taught a lot of people who were Christians who wanted to read the New Testament in the original language. So it was kind of a religious basis, but she would teach Hebrew. So that was kind of what she did.
You're very articulate. You're a great speaker.
Thank you.
Were you like this as a young child? I stuttered. I was bullied. I was not a good speaker. At some point in my career, I was 27 years old. I had a job working for a very famous, successful CEO, and there's this guy named Gary Kratt, and I loved the way that he spoke. It was he would take complicated ideas and he would communicate very, very clearly, and modeling him, I thought, gosh, he's a great speaker and communicator. Did your parents teach you to become a great communicator, or is that something that came to you naturally?
Well, first off, I'll take the compliment. Thank you so much, because I think that's so much of what I do is speaking, not just performing. But I think that the speaking evolved over time, where as a performer, somebody whose job, in essence, is to capture people's attention and maintain it, you have to learn all of the different pieces of speaking, which involve constantly assessing the audience, right? That interaction. So seeing, are they interested? Your tone, your modulation of your voice, your speech, how quick are you talking versus how slow do you go at certain points? So all of that is my tool. I think it evolved over time as I learned as a close-up performer. I started as a restaurant magician. I used to do kids' parties, but restaurant magicians are really, if you were to distill where I got most of my skills and where did I learn how to deal with people, it's from going up to restaurant crowds who are eating dinner, who have a babysitter, who want nothing to do with this little 12, 14-year-old twerp, and winning them over and learning to do that, iterate, thousands and thousands of times. I learned how to speak. And that happens in an environment where it's louder, but then also on stages, which is now where I perform. I don't really perform at restaurants anymore. Learning how to motivate people, excite people, how to win and influence people, and how to, in essence, capture their attention, which is all the world is about now.
We're going to come back to the Italian restaurant residency in a few minutes.
I wouldn't have called it a residency, Randy. You're making it fancy for me, but yeah.
So, but I want to go back to when you were a kid, because you have intellectual gifts that most people don't have. You skipped the 4th grade, which is very, very unusual. The research on this shows less than 1% of 1% of 1% of students skip a grade.
That was a factor of my parents being very pushy. So it was my mom mostly, but my dad too, because I'm in a marriage now where it's like you support each other. But I was very bored in school. I didn't mean to interrupt you. And so I think they did an amazing thing, which is they just didn't take no for an answer, which I kind of learned earlier on in that drive to be relentless. Is they go, my son's bored in school. He's not doing well because he's so bored. He has more potential in this. Let him take some of the classes. So in 3rd grade, they let me test out of all 3rd grade stuff. I did it like that. So they put me in 4th grade. And then this is my claim to fame, Randy. Forget an Emmy Award, forget everything. I've told my kids. I won the 4th grade spelling bee when I was in 3rd grade. So I've told my kids that before. They think that's so funny. And then I did all of the 4th grade curriculum while I was in 3rd grade. So at the end, they let me take all the tests, and I passed I aced them. So I jumped to 5th grade.
What was the word that won the spelling bee?
The word that I won, stationary.
Stationary.
So I got it
A
between the
versus
two.
E.
Exactly. Whether it's the paper or versus stationary, which is, not moving, the bike.
Right. You're listening to part 1 of my incredible interview with Oz Perlman, the most sought-after, famous mentalist in the entire world. You're going to love this episode. He performs this crazy trick during the show. You're going to love it. I don't know how he does all this stuff, but enjoy the show. Most kids don't take their boards until, the PSAT comes when they're 16 years old.
Yeah.
SAT comes a little bit later. You took it when you were 12 years old and got a perfect math score 800.
Yeah.
There's 2 million people who take that test every year, and there's something like 1,000 or 2,000 who get a perfect score.
Is that it? I thought it was so many more.
It's not so many more.
Wow.
But you're 12 years old.
Right.
And you're taking it 5 years before most people.
Yeah.
Did you know you had a gift at that point in your life?
So math was always really easy for me. I don't have like an easy way to explain it. Again, I don't know. I don't think I was a savant, but there's something where the way other people, there's things I would do as a young kid that I knew other kids didn't do.
Yeah.
So I would count everything, and I don't think that I'm on the spectrum. I don't think it's like autistic, but everything I would quantify. So when I would like run upstairs, I would count the stairs as I went. At a young age, when I would go to the grocery store, I remember we'd always go to Little Caesars Pizza in the grocery store, and I would always, while they're ringing up the thing, I'm adding it up in my head, and then at the end, my challenge in my mind, and my mom didn't know what I was doing until later when I explained it to her, when I would say, you need this much money. She's like, what? I would know that the tax in Michigan was 8.25%. So when I'd see it come up to like 87.46 on the groceries, I would instantly know how much it was and how much change she was going to get back. But I would challenge myself to do those types of math things, which would keep my mind very sharp. And what's interesting about that is that same thing, not with math, but that same level of using internally my mind to go through scenarios has served me incredibly well in my profession, because my profession is mostly iterating on how people will react and behave and what I'll do if it goes wrong. And so if you can play out those scenarios in your mind in advance, you're going to be much more prepared when you actually perform.
So I got to give a shout out to Little Caesars. Living in California,
Yep.
oh, there's a Little Caesars. That's shitty. Well, when we grow up, Little Caesars was everything.
That was
Every street
everything,
corner.
man. They had the
Pizza.
Caesar who would flip the pizzas, and it was like 3 for $15.
Yeah, pizza.
Pizza, man. There we go. You know it. Was that
Yeah.
Mike Ilitch who owns it? So I might be getting that wrong.
No,
But,
Mike Ilitch,
yeah, I thought
who
so.
passed away. Marianne, who is the brains behind supposedly the company, and now their son Chris runs a team.
Okay, I've never met
They own
them.
the
but-
Red Wings,
Of course.
and they own the Tigers. They revitalized downtown Detroit when no one wanted to live there. They bought up the town, and now Dan Gilbert has done the same thing. So let's move on to your bar mitzvah. We'll hit the cruise in a second.
Sure.
Where were you bar mitzvah? What temple?
In Michigan.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even a temple. That's the craziest thing. It was like a Chabad.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a real. It was like a. So my parents spoke Hebrew.
Yeah.
And I grew up speaking Hebrew as well, even though I moved to the States when I was 3. So I'm kind of like very Americanized.
Yeah.
But I retained the language and am bilingual because of my family.
Yeah.
So my family versus, for example, I see a lot of people who move to another country at a young age, but if their parents and grandparents don't reinforce it, you lose the language.
Yeah.
Which is so sad, even though like my kids are all bilingual now too. They speak French and English, but I think there's something about the bilingual mind that I'm very much in favor of. It gives you options. Even if the languages you don't use, learning to know 2 languages is very effective in life, I find. But I did that. We had this little small service because it wasn't a temple, because they spoke Hebrew at all the like services. So they found this little Chabad one that was a little upstart. We literally had picnic tables in a backyard is what it was.
So
You wouldn't have known it.
I went to Temple Bethel.
I know it.
And it's a Reform temple. And, sometimes when you're younger, you don't really think about the names of people.
Right.
And the senior rabbi there, who is amazing, his name was Richard Hertz. And later on, I think in my 30s, I was at a table with my stepdad, my mom, my brother, and I said, yeah, so, do you remember Dick Hertz?
Dick Hertz.
And I thought, I don't know if it's appropriate for the show or not, but I thought it's
too good to resist.
One of these names, yeah. So you go on a cruise to Bermuda as a celebratory bar mitzvah trip. That was a seminal moment. We all have seminal moments.
I would agree.
Right? Econ class. For me, Don Corwin's class, we're reading about companies, CEOs. We went on this trip to Federal Mogul. I sat in the CEO's chair. Bill Russell was his name. He wasn't there in the whole class. And I said, hey, can I sit in that chair? And, my teacher, Don Corwin, said, oh, my, what's he doing? What's he doing? And the person on the tour said, why not? Huge office, big desk. I thought, gosh, it's amazing. I want to be a CEO one day. I want to run a big company one day. And I thought, gosh, that's what I want to do. So tell us about what happened.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That soaked into you. That that the marinating in the juices, and you're like, ooh, I want this. So I didn't have that. I never had that level of forward thinking that you just did.
I mean, I loved reading about it.
Right.
I had Business Week. I was reading since I was 13 years old. And I just loved reading about successful people, motivating people, which is the goal of my show, to inspire and motivate people, interview some of the most successful people in the world. I want everyone to take something from the show, right?
Sure.
Some people take this, some people take 1, 5, 10 things from the show, but we're all motivated by seminal moments that influence us. Gosh, boom.
Yep. I think that's a blessing.
So some guy calls you up on stage.
Yep, he's a guy named Doug Anderson. So he's a magician on a cruise ship, Doug Anderson. I think my dad bribed him. We've discussed this later in hindsight a few years later. I'm like, how'd I get up? Did you just pick me at chance? I think my dad slipped this guy, said, get my kid up there. It's his birthday. It wasn't even my birthday. so I think it was near my birthday, but it was like a week past. Anyways, I went on stage. He performed sleight of hand magic for me. And I was just, most kids, it's like, oh, that was a great moment. But for me, it didn't wear off. It's as if the spell continued. And some people just are amazed and want to figure it out, to know how, that knowledge. I wanted to figure it out so I could do it, right? That's a very big difference. Most people, when they see a magic trick, they just enjoy it.
Right.
Then you take a subset of that, people that want to know how it's done. And that's just because they want to not be fooled. But then a very, very few percentage of us, minuscule, want to know how to do it so we can do it to other people. That's the camp I fell into, which is I want to learn how to do that. I want to give that feeling to other people. And also, I saw it as somewhat of a puzzle to be solved. And so when I got home, I there's no real guidebook. I went to the library. My mom's like, go to the library. That's where I'd always go pick up books. And I found there's a magic section.
Right. I want to go back. It was the sponge ball trick.
Sponge balls.
So can you explain what the sponge ball trick is? And we're not supposed to talk about secrets of the magic trick, but I think that's a simple one that you can't talk about.
It's sleight of hand. So sleight of hand means that it's you're doing things that people have trained their hands to do, how to make a ball vanish, appear, disappear, change color. All of that is being done due to dexterity of hands, right? It's not a gimmick. If I were to give it to you, you can't do the trick. You'd have to practice for a long time. He did that trick for me, put a ball in my hand. He had a ball in his hand. He snaps his fingers. His is gone. I have 2 in my hand. Right? Just cut to the distilled version of absolute amazement. How did that ball get in my hand? And then that happened again and again. And so when I went home, that's a trick you can buy at a store and then practice. I at first didn't really have money to buy tricks, so the first things I did, my mom was very practical, pragmatic, was go get books. So I bought books. Let's see if you really are committed to this before we start getting you these kits.
Right.
And I stuck with it, and I'd read the books cover to cover. I read every book in the library. Literally, I think there's maybe 7 or 8 of them. I remember what they are to this day.
What was the best one?
So the one that had the biggest...
Top 3, actually.
Well, I'll tell you the best one is a book called Expert Card Technique. Fred Broey and Gene Hugard, which is just a guide that tells you it's very small little illustrations. It will test your mettle to see if you're committed. Where do you hold your fingers? How do you do this move? How do you control cards in a deck? When somebody puts a card in the middle, how do I find it? How do I move it to the top, to the bottom? There's all these foundational skills in magic, similar to going to science class, biology, chemistry, then pre-med, then becoming a doctor. Magic is very much built on you need to learn certain skills before you learn the next skills. You have to crawl before you walk, before you run. And I like the structure of magic. I like the fact that you could improve.
Right. So let's talk about going to the library. No one goes to the library anymore, right? You don't need to go to the library anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
I do. That's not true. I take my kids to the library.
You do? Well,
absolutely.
I mean, that's like a field trip these days.
No, it's great. It's some rainy day.
So I think to all of the parents out there and all the people who want to learn something new, they just want to get right into it, is your advice to just go and research and read whatever? Because people come to me and say, I don't know things about finance. What book should I read?
Right.
Right? And it's like you go online, you see what the rankings are of all these books. I mean, I haven't read all these books.
Sure.
It's hard for me to recommend books. There's no seminal book on personal finance. I mean, and I'm going to get DMs now and say, well, this is the best book, This is the best book. But is the advice, people today really don't love doing all that sweat equity work.
Right. Well, also, you don't know how people learn anymore. The attention span has become phones have destroyed us. So that's I don't even know how anybody could say otherwise. Just what's happened is I don't read books as often anymore. I used to read books 1 or 2 a week always. Also, I have 5 kids. I'm busy with business. There's a lot of extenuating circumstances. But if you told me tomorrow I was retired and my kids were out of the house, I'd probably still not read as many books. That's just the nature of our day now. So find out how you consume information the best. If that's an audiobook, lean into that. I can't really speak to what I did 30 years ago versus what I would do now, but I'm very happy that I learned from books and not just videos. And I can tell you why, because books don't give you something you can mimic and parrot. When people learn from videos, they can mimic what you're doing, and they become a pale copy of you at times because they're seeing your presentation, your pattern, specifically to my craft. I think books allow you to invest some of yourself into it because I don't know how to present this trick or this presentation. Do you know what I'm saying? So I have to kind of figure it out for myself, and that's where a lot of the knowledge is based, is figuring things out for yourself. That's street smarts. It's something that's hard to teach, but you have to find a way to learn it yourself. Street smarts. Like, everyone could start at a company entry level. How can you find at that point who will be the CEO of that company or a different company? Who's going to be the founder? Who's going to lateral jump, right? If I'm a VC and I want a unicorn, you look at like the Kleiner Perkins of the world, Sequoias, the people who found the best companies to invest in Series A, and 1,000, 10,000x their money. What did they see in that person that everyone else didn't see at an early stage? And that's a skill. I think that the same thing applies to my craft, is how do you find the right knowledge that will eventually grow the business? For me, it was like the mentalism. Over time, I learned that was going to be my secret to success.
So in today's day and age, so many of my friends, we talk about, you have 5 kids, I got 5 kids.
Yeah.
You know, my youngest are 5 and 9.
Yep.
We talk about ChatGPT, and it's going to really ruin the way that people learn. Right?
Oof.
They're not going to have to read a book. You can just get the answer today very, very fast. What do you think about AI and your kids and the impact it's going to have on not only young kids,
Sure.
which it's going to be a game changer, but even today, you know, I talked to my son who's 21. I talked to my friends in the real world. I'm on ChatGPT. I'm doing 50 searches a day, minimum, and it's really improved my efficiency.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're navigating uncharted waters. I don't know that I'm qualified. I was recently at an event with just tremendously high-profile people, like the top of the top, and everybody was there, and I was asking a few people, I don't think he'll mind me saying it, but I was with Eric Schmidt, and we were just discussing, I'm like, is this doomsday scenario? He's spoken at length about AI. I've enjoyed his speeches. Is this all, you know, what do you think? And so the insights were, things are changing, and I think that the people that, the extremes, the ones who are like, in 3 years there's no jobs and the world's over, I think that's a bit absurd. I think there's some middle ground. I think that, quite honestly, nobody knows. Nobody knows where will this end, but I know that it's going to change everything, because the way that we are interacting with technology is evolving almost quicker than we can keep up with. So whether AGI is hit and suddenly everybody becomes completely obsolete and every job that's remote is gone, myself included, I don't know at what point. Do you want art that's AI generated? With this Sora, I don't know when this is going to come up, but that Sora videos are everywhere, right? It's a gimmick. But at what point does it jump over to doing things more efficiently than we are without human input? I think we're going to hit an inflection point where when AI doesn't need human input to program itself, and we just start hitting those moments where it just iterates so fast that we can't keep up with it, I don't know what's going to happen then. I don't know whether that's in 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. I don't think there has to be AGI. I think just when the design is no longer human implemented, that everything's going to shift for us. And I don't know. I'm worried for my kids, but at the same time, humans have adapted pretty well in the past. I'm hoping this isn't something that replaces us, but yeah, it's a bigger conversation.
So you come back from the cruise, and your parents eventually, you read the books, and they take you to a magic store.
Yep.
And I think people who
Royal Oak. Right between you and me in Birmingham.
Okay, and so Royal Oak's a very cool town, by the way.
Very cool.
Back in the day when I was growing up, it wasn't that cool, and like a lot of these
Really?
other, I mean, it was very run down. But like a lot of cities, they have the sprawl, and suddenly it becomes very, very cool because it's too expensive to live in places like Birmingham,
right,
or Bloomfield Hills.
Yeah,
it was young and fun. So you go to the magic store after you read the books, and this is something that people don't get. My son was a magician for some amount of time. He stopped when he was 18 years old or something, but he loved it. And we take him to the magic store. What people don't get is you buy tricks.
Yep.
Right. You're not teaching someone is not teaching you. You go there, it's $30.
Yeah,
then
or
it's
more.
50.
Yeah.
Then it's 100.
Yeah.
And then it's 300. So explain kind of the range of the tricks, the price of the tricks, and then what's the most expensive trick you can do
I don't know
they
that,
can actually buy.
Yeah, I don't know that money correlates to like how good something is. It tends to be size related. So if you're buying something, that tends to be like illusions and things that are large that you do on stage that are very expensive because they're bulky and big, if that makes sense. So cost is not really relative to the powerful, like how powerful a trick is. It's more
Right.
Typically, like a big thing, you're sawing a woman in half, you got the box and this, it's going to cost you like thousands of dollars.
Right, but what I'm talking about is the purchase of the actual trick. Someone has
Sure.
a manual, and by the way, the manuals are very complicated.
So what's interesting is at those stores, there's a user experience. If you walk in, they demo it for you, they present it, and would you want to buy it? And if you do, there's like a back room, that whole back room vibe of, I'll bring you back there and I'll teach you how to do it. And so that's kind of how the passing of the baton would happen. But just like brick and mortar stores now, they've gone few and far between. There's less magic stores, and now it's all online. And that's a big part of my story is later on, I became part of an online magic store, and I would teach tricks. But at the beginning, for me, it was learning gimmicks. Gimmicks are, you buy the trick, you learn how to do it, and then you can do it. It's not sleight of hand. There might be sleight of hand related, but typically the gimmick does a lot of the work for you. And I had a real paradigm shift where I was doing a lot of gimmick tricks. And I had met somebody who was kind of my mentor at that age. And he started telling me, well, you're the guy who now has 5 decks of cards in your pockets. Why do you have so many decks of cards in your pocket? Because each one does a different trick, right? You can't just have a deck of cards. Here, take my deck of cards and do your trick. So I didn't learn at that point, because I just wanted to do cool stuff, that the audience perceives it as if I had that deck or if I had that gimmick, could I do that trick? And now you aren't as valuable. That gimmick does the thing. So I learned at a young age that I don't want the thing that I have to be the thing that says, oh, if I had that, I could do that too. I want to be the carrier of the magic. I want the Superman, the Clark Kent who rips off the cape. Superman has the powers, not the outfit, not the gimmick. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I switched at that point to learning how to do impromptu magic. I made it a point that I could be anywhere, anytime, and have an act that's 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. I could just drop in here right now, your watch, your ring, your shoelaces, this camera, a piece of paper. If we're at a restaurant, I could do anything, the sugar packets. I need to have tricks ready anywhere, because Superman can rip off his cape anywhere. That's the analogy. The metaphor is Superman can't not do it because he's not wearing the cape. If you're a magician, you should be able to do magic. Magic doesn't mean you're only ready when you have a deck of cards in your pockets.
So there's an unwritten rule with magicians. It's a social contract that says, don't share tricks. Don't tell people how to do tricks.
Don't reveal the secrets.
Don't reveal the secrets of tricks. Right. How valid is that social contract?
I think that keeps the mystery alive. I think that people, it's the YouTube era, so people can try to debunk anything. That's the nature of the internet. But I think that a lot of secrets have stood the test of time because we're in a very insular community. Or if you're really good, you start creating your own things. So if you can create your own tricks that not necessarily everybody knows, the public and even within your own world, people don't know how you're doing it, or you've mixed and matched methods, then you become a bit more bulletproof because other people don't even know how you're doing it.
We've all had odd jobs to pursue our passions.
Yeah.
Right? I wanted money growing up. I worked at Kroger, AMP on the corner of 15 and Telegraph.
Okay.
$3.75 per hour.
Yeah.
Stuff envelopes in college at Michigan. We'll talk about Michigan for 3 cents each. Go blue. You worked at a bagel shop.
Yeah.
You made sandwiches.
Yep, and cleaned the bathrooms. Cleaned the bathrooms. You know what? They asked for who? They thought they were punishing the new guy. They thought they were punishing me. And they were like, oh, the new guy has to do bathrooms. So you know what? We're taking volunteers. And I said, I'll volunteer. And they thought they were hazing me. But I actually liked cleaning bathrooms. Oddly, in college with my roommates, I liked cleaning bathrooms also. I like having a clean bathroom. So it was not something that everybody else thought was terrible, but I didn't mind doing. And that was also something I learned where things are serendipitous, Randy, where you don't realize that some things that are disadvantages become advantages, like silver linings. So do I want to clean bathrooms now for a living? No. But in my house, the housekeeper's gone during COVID. We didn't have a housekeeper. Again, first world problems. I was in charge of cleaning the bathrooms again. It wasn't my favorite, but I'm like, I'm good at this. I'm keeping the toilet scrubbed, bathroom sink clean. It's just my nature. I like that. So what was a disadvantage to others is an advantage to me. And if you can do things that other people don't like, it's kind of a leg up in certain worlds.
I mean, it's huge, but public bathrums are different than your house bathroom,
That's
right?
very
They're
true as well.
gross. I mean,
they were gross, but I had gloves and I just got in there and I didn't really mind.
Men urinate on the floor, on the toilet seat. I mean, you're a 14, 15-year-old kid. You're going, yeah, I can't wait to clean up the pee on the floor and the...
I don't know if I'd say I can't wait, but I also wasn't that opposed. To me, it just wasn't that bad. I'm like, whatever. I didn't care. I guess I was. It'd be fun to talk to some of the people I knew back then, but I was pretty I was just pretty go with the flow.
Right. What bagel shop was it?
Bean and Bagel.
Okay, I'm not familiar
It was
with
on
it.
12 between, I want to say, Farmington and Drake. Somebody fact check this.
There's a huge lesson here, especially for young people. Not only young people, but young professionals and even CEOs, right? People see successful people like you, like me, and they think it's all fun and games. And I tell people so many times, you want to do the work that no one else wants to do.
Right.
Right? And it's mostly, if you look at my day, 90% of my day is what I call shit work.
I'm sure.
Right? It's things that are emails, I got to respond, admin, they're aggravating, and it really, for me to create value in my own businesses, I really need time to think, right? But that's only 5 or 10% of my day,
right?
Unless I cut that out of my day. But what's your advice? I mean, people really don't want to do the shit work. No one wants to go clean up a bathroom. And I think the best way to add value sometimes at these companies or at where you work is volunteering, putting your hands up for jobs that nobody else wants.
So I think there's two different levels there, because one is the come up, which something that creates that resilience and toughness, which is doing those jobs at the early stages, which unfortunately, again, depends on the generations. Is I'm hearing what you did and what I did, and this isn't like, oh, whippersnappers like in my day. I grew up very differently than my children are growing up. It's just it's a fact of socioeconomics. They've had kind of much more successful parents, and so they're reaping the fruits of my labor, and they're living a different life than I did. They just don't like going to restaurants. I didn't go to restaurants when I was a kid. Now it's kind of we go to restaurants and it's not even a thought, right? There's certain things that they take for granted in terms of their lifestyle that don't build a toughness, where there is no world in which my children are likely to be cleaning toilets at age 13 and a half and 14 like I was, because they don't really need the money. So we have to find other ways to create adversity that they can overcome and do things for themselves. I think at a later stage, you actually handicap yourself if you do the work. If you're a senior leader and you're only committing 10% of your time to the big ideas and the big thoughts that are going to really bring tremendous value, the alpha for your company, then you have to outsource that. And that's been something that I've been bad at for years, which is relinquishing control and looking objectively at what do I do really well, better than anyone? What do I do not that great? And what can I easily just ship out, like accounting, admin, sending contracts, invoices, things that for years I would do myself. And
right.
it's a chapter in my book of learning when to let go and let others do it. Because sometimes you have to spend money, even money you don't have. But that money you don't have frees up time. That time could pay itself off with dividends in earning more money. Not always monetary, if we're being brass tacks, but that's where you need to have almost like a McKinsey consultant come in. But most of us don't run businesses big enough for a McKinsey consultant. So you have to wear all those hats. And you have to figure out, how do I maximize my efficiency? And in some instances, it means having someone else do something that will do it better than you will. So it frees up your time. I knew that's a huge secret to my success.
And I've learned to do that as well. If I look back 3, 4, 5, and even before that, my whole career, I had meetings all day long. I'd have, on a busy day, 8 meetings. Right then at the end of the day, I'm tired.
Yeah.
And I've emails. So I bring it home with me, and I'm doing emails every night till 11 o'clock. And as years, I remember having lunch with my friend Brian Lee. He showed me his calendar, and it was the same thing: stack, 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 stack. And we said to each other, like, this is crazy. And he told me he didn't bring work home with him at night. I said, well, how is that possible? He said, well, I have a team. Now, it's harder to do when you're basically a solo person like me, right?
Sure.
There's no one else to do the work. But what I've learned to do to maximize my time is now no morning meetings, right? I'm writing a book, extreme preparation. I've got my show. I'm creating a class online, which I'm going to sell, how to raise capital. So that's my focus. And then my professional coaching program as well. I coach motivated people who want to achieve their dreams, athletes, young professionals, CEOs, founders, doctors, lawyers. It's a passion of mine, as is the show, but it's really improved the efficiency just having from 8 till noon every day, no meetings. And then as I get tired throughout the day, because I'll wake up usually at 5:30 and I'll make breakfast for the kids, help my wife.
Yep.
It's amazing. And then as I get tired through the day, then I'll have the meetings where I don't have to be 100% on, because I'm laser focused in the morning. It made a huge difference.
Right.
Blocking out the time.
Smart.
Cutting out the
And
nonsense.
that took years to figure out, right? So somebody fast-tracked your success, but if they told you that 10 years ago, you might not have taken the advice, right? So much of life is kind of timing, and you might have been like, no, I'll put my head down and do it. But unfortunately, some of the lessons I feel like I've learned, it has to be touching the stove and getting that it's hot, which is like, again, if you're chasing success, there's that balance of life of how much are you being with your family, how much are you working, how much are you present in the time that you're with your kids or family, or committing that time to focus on your marriage and do like date nights and doing things when everything is work, work, work. And that's a balance that I'm constantly trying to learn and iterate and like figure out the right one where we're all happy, we're all having a good time. And when you set aside the time effectively and really spend it together, quality.
I think one of the things that makes us successful is doing things that nobody else wants to do. You come up with some concept, everyone says, no, don't do that. That's not part of the job application. That's not what we do. No one told me to do that. We'll go step by step on your career, but when you were 14 years old, you printed business cards, which is something that is awesome, crazy, unique at the same time. How important is it to do things that nobody else does? And if someone tells you, oh, geez, no one else has done that before, I shouldn't do that.
So I wouldn't say nobody else had done it, where it was just more of, you either have to find somebody who has the blueprint for success and find somebody, if you can find mentors, that's again, something I put in the book of like a whole chapter dedicated to how if you could find somebody who you want to be in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, they can maybe take you through and round out those bumps of you not making those mistakes, right? Spending a bunch of money on flyers that nobody ever reads, right? Maybe business cards are better, or maybe something else is better. Nowadays, maybe you don't need a website that's all fancy. You just need a good social media platform or profile. Everything evolves and changes with time. I think that what happened for me at that point was I was doing things that nobody else was, but I was kind of ignorance was bliss. I did things because I just believed in them, and I manifested, so to speak, that I'm going to go to a restaurant, and I heard there's a restaurant magician somewhere else. I'm just going to go to this restaurant by me, and I'm going to go with my mom, and we're going to talk that into it. And I've got a pretty good idea of how to sell myself, and I don't know how I did, but that fake it till you make it approach of confidence is sometimes better. It's sometimes better to not even know what you're dealing with so you don't talk yourself out of it. Fear of rejection and failure, I think, has sunk more businesses and robbed more people of success than any other form of failure. It's internal, not external factors. It's an internal fear of failing that makes people either not try or sets themselves up for failure rather than success, because along the way you keep going, this isn't going to work, this isn't going to work. And if you keep living in a world where your monologue is this isn't going to work, you know what? It isn't going to work because you're not taking the right steps to make it work.
There's a super secret to getting the job that nobody else wants, that almost nobody does.
Right?
And here's what it is. Offer to work for free.
So, of course.
So, and we'll talk about what you did in a second, but I had a guy that worked with me when I first began my investment VC firm 25 years ago. The tech market was shrinking. We were losing lots of money. You could see the writing on the wall. And he said, I want to go work at a hedge fund. And I said, and the biggest one in Los Angeles, Canyon Capital. Josh Friedman, one of the two co-founders of the firm. I don't know what they managed at the time, $50 million, something like that. And Soon Fo is the name of the individual, said he wanted to go work there. And so I called Josh. He said, it's impossible. No, we have our team. And so Soon, what he did was, but I said to Josh, I said, hey, will you meet with Soon as a favor to me? He said, yeah, as a favor to you, I'll meet with him. I'm just telling you, no job for him. So Soon had a week to prepare. Extreme Preparation is my brand. What he did is came in 7:30 every day, left at 10 o'clock with his Wharton textbooks. He studied everything. So he goes to meet with Josh, and he said to me, what do you think? I said, ask to work for free. Ask to work for free. And he said, really? Should I do that? I said, yeah. You should do it. What do you got to lose? Right? So he goes in, he meets with Josh. Great meeting. 15 minutes turns into 45 minutes. Josh calls me. Soon's on the way back to work. He says, is this guy for real? I said, what do you mean? He said, he has to work for free. I said, yeah, he did. And he said, should I take the chance for free? It's kind of like a one-way call option. I said, you should take the chance. He's outstanding. What Josh did is said, well, I have to pay him something. So he basically, minimum wage, Soon got a job on a convert ARB team that was managing $140 million at the time. Soon's a brilliant guy. And then that guy, his boss, leaves a year and a half later, and now Soon is running a $140 million fund. He ultimately became a partner at the firm.
Yeah.
And he retired, I think, at age 37. Made tens and tens of millions of dollars, and now he's doing his own thing. And the only thing that made him get that job, and this is life-changing for anyone, is offering to work for free. Now, you can't just go in there and say, oh, let me work for free. You got to go in there, do your work, show people that you're massively prepared, know everything you can about a business, about the person you're meeting with. But if you go in there, anybody is hiring, even if you laid off 10,000 people, if you're that person.
Yeah. Great. That's an amazing note.
I
did something similar.
Did the same thing
Yeah.
when you were 14 years old.
Yep.
At this restaurant. Italian restaurant. You've never named the restaurant. I've been thinking.
No, it's in the book.
But so,
It hasn't come out yet.
Right. So
I'm holding it up.
Tell us the name of the restaurant.
Read your mind. So the name of the restaurant, Zia's.
Okay, I don't know it.
You wouldn't have known it. It was so that was actually part of the reason it worked, is because this was a revolving door where at this restaurant every 2-3 years, I don't know if it was new owners, somebody sold it, they'd always spin out a new concept. It went from Mexican to Italian to family style because it wasn't working. This corner wasn't working. So again, I can't tell you 2020 hindsight whether I knew this at the time. I don't think I had this business acumen at 14, but we knew this place just opened recently. I had the sense to know that it wasn't corporate owned. So I knew that if I go in there, I want the decision maker to be in the room. I don't want them to be able to defer, oh, I got to talk to my regional manager. I got to talk to this. I don't want that level of somebody when I leave being to say, I'll get back to you. So I knew that, I don't know how I knew this, that I need to get a decision on the spot because otherwise when I leave, the magic wears away. My goal is to blow them away. And then at that moment of peak amazement, peak emotion openness, wow, is to just hook them, just like a good sales lead. Do you have entertainment here? Have you don't? And make it sound like it's so silly you don't. And I said, what's your slowest night? Because know that what they want isn't what you want. So I am amazing your guests. What do they want? They want people to enjoy themselves and to come back again with more people and to tell others about the restaurant, right? They're not caring about my magic. They're caring about the results of my magic. So I need to speak in a benefits-oriented language to them that converts into sales for me, right? I don't want to say, look how great my trick is. I don't care about you. Who cares about your trick? I'm running a restaurant. So I realized, what's your slowest night? They go, Tuesdays. Tuesdays, there's no buzz off the... So I go, why don't I come in next Tuesday? And I'll come in and I promise you that every person that leaves this place is going to tell you what a great time they had, how they're going to come back with friends, and wow, what an amazing experience. And don't pay me a dime. I don't want $1 from you. I go, what do you have to lose? I go, if it doesn't work, end of the night, we shake hands, we say goodbye. It was a fun night, just like you got to see. But why not? And so it's such a hard sell because it's free. It's our slow night. What do we have to lose? I even let them know the only part that's awkward is firing me later. I go, we'll shake hands at the end of the night and say goodbye if this didn't work. It's just like you're eliminating every point of resistance along the way. And also, I want to say, since then, I've had lots of restaurant gigs. I'd have somebody defer and be like, I got to talk to the general manager. I go, why? You own this win. You're gonna be the one who looks so great because you're the one who made this decision. And I go, and if it doesn't work, you're not in trouble. I'm never going to be back here again. So why not you do it? Don't wait and ask them. You be the star. And that's like, again, if you're an assistant manager, I'm sure that in the back of your mind, you're gunning to be general manager one day. So why don't you make a decision that makes you look good, right? Know what motivates others and think about them more than yourself. That right there is one of the greatest secrets to my entire success. And I would say the secret to some of the most successful people I've ever met in my life is when you focus on others more than yourself. That's the number one rule of sales. Know what they want, deliver for them, not deliver for yourself.